Okay, ACCA AFM students. Request. Sean, could you please present a summary of your unique technique regarding financing decision? So what is financing decision? Yes, what is financing decision? Where the ACCA AFM exams is concerned, is all about you working out what is that WACC, the weighted average cost of capital. Think about this. Where do we get the money to fund one of our opportunities that I would have discussed in my investment decision slide? Yes, where do we get the money? We get the money from our investors. Do they give us that money free of charge? No. That money comes at a cost, and what we call that cost, the WACC. And therefore, most of the time in the exam, when you got a question, it's going to be about the WACC. But the exam doesn't, the notes doesn't tell you this. When you do the WACC, it's either of two things they're going to ask you: to calculate the current, which are other words like existing or whatever it is, but the current and the new WACC. Whether they call that the proposed WACC or the WACC after, that is what they're going to be doing. So when you're faced with something like this in the requirements, what is it you want to read the question for? The case study, as you say. My friends, anything to do with WACC is what I will refer to as the WACC table. Yes, the WACC table. And with the WACC table, there is three things. You want to identify from the question your sources of finance. Your SOF is the sources of finance. And each source of finance, you probably be looking at equity and you'll be looking at debts. But with debts, you may have things like bank loans, you may have things like bonds or debentures. Okay, so you want to know about your sources of finance, and each source of finance, what you're looking at, the cost. How do we work out the cost of these sources of finance? And for instance, like the cost of equity, you got things like CAPM, you got things like DVM, or you got things like M&M. And then basically for the debts, you need to know the type of debt. Yeah, you need to know the type of debt, and that is where you're going to look at. Are we looking at the working out the bank loan? Are we looking at working out the bond? What are you doing the yield into 1 minus T? It's all about this. And finally, in terms of your WACC columns, for the WACC table will be the market. Yes, will be the market value. Very, very important. You want to know the market value for the sources of finance. And this is something you may have to calculate. But remember, my friends, the bank loan doesn't have a market value. The book value we use as the market value, and that's how you were able to work out the WACC. Okay, this is just an introduction, so an outline that you're going to see, and ask yourself, were you told this before? This is what LIBS is different. It will take you to that journey of success at your ACCA AFM exams. See you there.